After the success of the DVD of The Fast and Furious, which sold 6 million copies, I began thinking about what we could do for the DVD of XXX that would be new and different and take the DVD experience further to another level. What I came up with is a documentary about the making of XXX, and I engaged Todd Grossman and New Wave Entertainment to be on the set 82 of the 82 days that we shot. What I hope you get out of this documentary is not just my journey as the director, but that all films have their own journey, and once filmmakers embark on them, they're all very different. And in many ways, as I've found over the years, they are much the same. It's a personal thing for me, like everybody just could grab hands. I just want to say that the appropriate response to what we have is gratitude. You know, gratitude for being able to do this art and craft and work that we love, and that we will rise to the occasion to make a wonderful, exciting, entertaining movie, and we'll do it safely, with humor and humanity, and with love for each other and respect for our audience. Let's have a little moment of personal thoughts and prayers. Okay, let's shoot. Okay? Yeah. One thing I learned last year is to shoot cars.
A large part of doing XXX was actually working with Rob Cohen again.
Shoot, don't rehearse.
Camera mark.
Action!
Lois?
When you stumble across a great actor-director relationship, you are quick to kind of get back into that environment again.
We have this kind of symbiotic relationship where I know when Rob's doing his thing, it's fully taken care of, and Rob knows when I'm doing my thing, it's fully taken care of.
It was a little bonus that I added no abrasions on the left side.
Once we teach them in the Fast and Furious, they never forget. Ready? And action! I wanted a challenge. That's what I've always looked for. When I read a screenplay, I want to know that the investment of time and money, of millions of hours of people's work, and of all my heart, soul, and imagination is going to be stretched into some new place, both for me and for the audience. Action! Right before the release of The Fast and Furious, I got a script from Joe Roth, Todd Garner, and Derek Douchy from Revolution Studios. It was Rich Wilkes' first draft of XXX, and I knew I had found my challenge.
These are the digital recording decks that we're mounting in the Corvette. We've got three lipstick cameras that are mounted in 3 positions, and so we've got onboard cameras to record each of the positions.
All that has to survive is that little baby right there. That's all we care about right there, that baby. Good luck.
You know, like the base jump off the Corvette we did with 18 cameras because I did not want to have to do that again. It was already a stunt that no one had ever attempted. It was very, very dangerous.
Oh, wow. Cool. Red flag goes away, and I start doing this.
Albert, we're moments away. We're within 30 seconds.
Yeah, Lance, we're all set down here. Anytime you're ready to go to red flag, you let me know.
Okay, let's go.
Red flag is up.
passenger side down the floor.
What kind of action sports do I do personally? None, really. I sit on the couch and I watch other people do the dangerous things and enjoy my Tony Hawk video games and watching X Games. I'd love to be able to sky surf and kick people's ass, but I don't want to get hurt myself.
I think it's about time Hollywood really embraces these types of sports, you know, these sort of individual pursuits, and not just tries to exploit them as being crazy or ruthless. What we do is very calculated, and we've been doing it a long, long time.
There's nothing much to be said here except that it all starts with the written word.
That's clever.
When I read the script, there was only one name that came to my mind, which was Vin Diesel. Vinny is a unique actor. He has a cluster of characteristics that you just don't find. And I like to refer to XXX as the all-American anti-hero. He's a man of great skills, and those skills come to the attention of Mr. Samuel L. Jackson and the National Security Agency.
Well done, Mr. Cage.
The diner scene is important, and it did come under attack. Those wanted to cut the budget. The thing about the diner scene is you see everything that Xander sees as he sees it. Then he gets to the drug farm, and it's a whole other thing. It was a way to test Xander under battle conditions to see what he would do. I have a theory to front load the first act with action. Today, people are really into immediate gratification. They've come to a movie, and they don't want 30 minutes waiting. We spent 2 weeks of freezing nights in Lake Piru, California, near Magic Mountain, and we fought every night to get off as many setups as we could. As I learned, the enemy was the dawn.
The first ship's going to be the Vulcan cannon, which is the shark of the helicopters.
Great. Okay, that's the starting point, that's the path, that's the ground hits. Let's move this Vista Vision.
Guys, clear this area, please. Clear the area. Action!
The first time through, for some inexplicable reason, the expedition did not blow up, so we had to re-rig all the ground squibs and all the mortars. Everything had to be reloaded for take 2. Look at this shot. Look at that shot. Jesus Christ. Fantastic job. I got 10 great shots, great action. Thank you. This is great. Just feel really good about that. He was supposed to be like an envelope going through the mail slot. This is the 7th night of shooting, and we are beginning the big jumps, the big motocross freestyle jumps. I wanted to do motocross freestyle, which is one of the X Games sports. That wouldn't make any sense unless there was an obstacle, like do a tabletop right through an electrified barbed wire fence.
Something very fascinating about playing Xander Cage was that I'd have to do 3 months of preparation and training. I'm a thrill seeker myself to some degree. And I just completely enjoyed that process. I'd never been on a motocross bike before in my life. And on first day I'm doing jumps. I trained with the best motocross experts to have the opportunity to go off and do those things, and to have the opportunity to do them under the supervision of the best is a great opportunity.
That's our 183rd setup on this sequence alone. Real hero shot is Vin and the helicopter together with the bullets going off. This is very dangerous what we're doing. Letting our star do a stunt of this magnitude. We're doing about 17 different things tonight, one take of everything. When we came to the jump over the drug lab, we're really talking about a stunt that had never been attempted and was in fact extremely dangerous. For any reason you don't feel right, beer, don't do it, right? No matter what, no matter what. We got more film than we got purple. We got everything. All this right? Sounds good to me. Okay, yes, all right, good. I have a real belief that computer-generated effects are beginning to take some of the thrill out of movies. As exciting as they can be, there's a sense that it was not real, and here, with 13 cameras, we were going to do this for real.
See all the red wiring and all the little black tape marks that are blown out against the same piece of pyros.
There's the dawn, there's the enemy rising. The culprit. We have to get this before that becomes day over there.
This is where the power is. It's filled with gas and then it's got primer cord laced around it. It's a really heavy duty, like a mining explosive kind of a thing.
Not off the Vulcan. I keep saying this. It can't be off the Vulcan. He's never been there in time. I'm just going off of what I'm told. All right. I'm telling you. All right. I'm telling you it should be conveyed, and I want it clear. I'm going to shut this all down.
So will any of the barn be left standing?
No. You don't get a take two on these.
Yeah, we're going to try and pull this off here in the next half hour. It's going to get light.
It's hovering, then whip over to the buildings and catch the explosion. And Rob says he really means whip, like really whip pan over to the building.
5 helicopters, 8 explosions, no waiting.
All right, pictures up. There we go. Ready, and action!
God, he just made it.
Dailies were great today. Tabletop, 2 thumbs up. Back away there, BMX man. Oh, that's good. Yeah! Today is December 19th. We're on schedule. We've done some fairly explosive stuff. Vin has been embraced by the X Games world. The movie's sort of been endorsed by our X Games gold medalists who are busy inventing a new X Games sport called Hit the Rock with a Rock. We're 3 days from finishing what we have to do before we reconvene in Prague for a whole other side of this movie. Glamorous and dangerous and very romantic, you know. So So, but for now, it's all about getting your rocks off.
Prague is absolutely stunning. Prague is a beautiful place.
I'm Rob Cohen. I'm the director of the movie. So first I want to say Dobry Dan to all our Czech crew that we're meeting. I'm looking forward to getting to know everybody and everybody's name. The Czech Republic and the people in it are among the finest comrades I've ever had in the world. And in a world of homogeneity and McDonald's and, Gap and mini malls, a city like Prague today is among the 2 or 3 most beautiful cities in the world. Using Prague for Prague, not Prague to be London or Prague because of cheap sets, but Prague because the story took place in Prague, was such a joy, visually and spiritually. The Old Town Square, the heart of Prague, was our first real Czech location. We shot in 20 below zero, and I'm still thawing out even as I speak. For the Rammstein concert sequence, we found an abandoned church 2 hours outside of Prague. Through the snow, every day we'd trudge out there and set up in this 400-year-old building. I'm Rob Cohen. I'm the director of the movie. We're going to get a private concert tonight. Act like you would, move, dance, enjoy yourselves. We'll tell you a little bit about what we'll need you to do from time to time, but let's have a good time these next 2 days, and we'll make a really great scene. Next to Vin Diesel and Samuel L. Jackson, which was a pairing made in heaven, the next most important part is the villain. Heroes or anti-heroes are defined by the villain. So you need the strongest villain possible to have the strongest hero possible, to play Yorgi, to play Yelena. And we have the whole world to pick from.
It's the beginning of the movie, and it's my first day of shooting. And we've been working for 24 hours.
Rana and I had read 500 girls in 7 countries. Ozzy started to do the first scene, and I gave her the part that day.
We have great actors in this film. The talent across the board is something to be proud of.
You're all right, Yorgi. Everything's all right with enough vodka. You must come to party tonight. Big party at one of my clubs. Yeah?
I thought the Orbital brothers would be great because they're very successful in Europe. We took over this crazy location where they test mega electricity, and it imparted a genuine atmosphere to the scenes because this was Orbital playing an original Orbital piece for triple acts.
The nicest gift I had from this movie and the nicest memory I will keep is really observing Rob. He's been giving me many cinema lessons. In Europe, we don't get to do movies to shoot with 16 cameras. I'll tell you that. It's quite amazing.
We're chilling here at a club where I meet Anarchy 99. We're listening to Orbital. I can't complain because we're checking the gate.
We're in a little town called Vranov, about 2.5 hours outside of Prague, and it's a palace that's owned by Yorgi, the head of a Russian mafia gang. And so this is his getaway. This is where our hero Vin Diesel comes and becomes friends enough that he can infiltrate the gang. We've got 3 units shooting 24 hours a day, so it's a very busy schedule. But we're halfway through and we're doing pretty well, knock on wood, and we'll get through it.
Action, Jerry! That's not your average high fall where guy goes clear, falls in an airbag. That was sort of bouncing on the way down. It was fiberglass, and it does give a bit. It's definitely something I'm glad we're done with in one take.
Your XXX.
You're the care package?
That's right. Agent Shavers. Agent Totally Shavers.
I'm a comedian by trade. That's how I got here. Like yesterday, I came in dressed in drag and walked around the set, and I was Pachinka.
You're such a freak already. God gave me this body. I'm gonna use it to make money. You never know when some freak villain's just gonna pop out and all right.
What are you gonna do? You get a transvestite comedian playing a gadget freak working for the National Security Agency. But I might point out that J. Edgar Hoover was a cross-dresser, so it's more truth than fiction.
The Ahab launch room workshop area was obviously quite an important part of Yorgi's world. Sort of was a continuity between the Vranov Castle location, the tunnels down to the workshop, and then the workshop itself being a sort of a period interior.
It's sensational, it's breathtaking, even without the cameras, without the film crew. To see this construction is breathtaking.
Did I christen this ship Ahab?
That was brilliant. Captured on film as well.
I feel like I'm a pirate for sure.
Very good.
Worked, huh? Worked once. When we got through with the location part, we moved into the massive sets that Gavin had constructed on the Still King soundstage, most notably the Ahab Lab, the launch bay, the NSA headquarters, tunnel sections, the library, even the Russian constructivist statue in which Kirill hid. Ahab was actually towed by a complex wire system, so there was no wake. It was towed into a green screen backing where the exterior river would eventually be composited. Here in the final scene, you can see a completely convincing effect of Ahab going out into the world. Won't get better than that.
Good job, Swami, guys.
Let's hear it. Yeah, very nice.
Black powder bomb, about a 3 ounce. It's commonly known as a lifter. You know, for lifting debris, breakaway glass, cork, balsa wood, newspapers, things like that.
I'm sure that someone someday will count the number of explosions, bullet hits, rock and roll gantries, wire effects, mechanical special effects that are in XXX. And when they do, they will owe it to the expertise of John Fraser and Jim Schwam. Jim Schwam, who's with us on a daily basis, and a man who I frequently put to the ultimate test.
We'll roll the cameras, and you'll do a 3, 2, 1 on the bullhorn.
That'll give everybody their cue to start pulling, and then the explosion will continue on through.
What I'm trying to get is that this is a shocking experience that the audience was not expecting.
Yes. There's going to be a lot of materials in the air.
I want this on videotape beforehand. Todd?
Yes.
I have only one question. Is this going to be one of your finest moments?
It's going to be one of our finest moments.
Very nice.
I think I have to rethink the choreography of the post-explosion. That's what I think. Yeah. Dean's extraordinary. I mean, he's like the perfect cinematographer. He's like really accommodating. Brilliant, talented, fun, works with an amazing crew.
On 180 mil. Probably back where you were.
180, chair. We think alike. We have a mind meld. Best collaborator I ever had. I'm a lucky man. When you have Semler on the front of a film and Chris Levins on, the editor, on the back of the film, you look really good. So all you film students, try to hire this man on your first picture. Get this man to shoot your first movie, and you'll have a career. If you don't get this man to shoot your first movie, you're on your own. Dean is an artist, and like all artists, his soul comes through what he does. He has a generosity of spirit that results in a crew that will kill for him. He knows when to be relaxed, and he knows once in a while when to tense everything up to keep it sharp.
Roughly bridge guys up top, something like that.
This is our storyboard. This is the sophisticated way. In the big Hollywood movies, we figure everything out. Shooting a climax on a hydrofoiling submarine was a new set of challenges for me. The first solution was how to get the thing going 60 to 80 miles an hour, and that solution came from Ransom Walrod, our Marine coordinator. He stuck a cigarette boat like a sled underneath the Ahab, and that got it through the water at the proper speed, and we removed that sled later through digital effects. Coordinating the car, the cameras, and Ahab out in the river was one of the tricky feats of the film, because you got 3 moving elements. It's like trying to thread 3 moving needles, and I think that's probably 9 times as difficult as one. But, you know, day after day, we did it.
You said there was an ejectable roof.
Yeah, right here.
Hit it.
Come on! I wish I had a video camera.
What you talking about?
This is gonna be one hell of a trip.
I used 500 stuntmen in this film, and all but one came home without a scratch. One didn't come home at all. In one of the simplest stunts in the picture, Harry O'Connor died. It was exactly this kind of thing that I was praying we would avoid. We'll all miss you, Harry.
We are here on the Vltava River in Prague. It's raining, the weather's against us, yet we press on.
If you had a sunny scene going and now it's pouring rain, you either have to wait it out or you have to compromise the consistency, and sometimes you can get away with that. I just say you've got to play the hand you're dealt.
Well, the last couple of days has been extremely unpredictable. 1 minute, half the town is in complete bright sunshine and the other half is blacked out by snow. So you never know what you're going to expect from 1 minute to the next.
I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do.
Oh, it might be too low. Come on, come on, come on.
Here we are on another sunny day in Prague.
There it is. There's the sun. There's the orb.
Robbie, we gotta go again.
What? Let's hear it for Vin. Here today, it was snowing, it was windy, it was raining, it was cloudy, it was sunny, it was raining, it was snowy. So you got the best experience that could be made out of a truly terrible day. The world-famous Charles Bridge is the exact geographical center of Prague, and therefore the perfect place to bring all the strands of the story and all the characters together to make the climax of the film.
All right, Hi.
Oh, you've never met. It was difficult to make frontal angle shots on the Charles Bridge from the water, so I had Gavin construct a small section of the bridge on the back lot at Still King. Film is an illusion, and all in all, I believe this illusion came together quite well.
Action!
I promised Xander you could go to America. I'm a man of my word.
Well, it doesn't make much difference now, does it? Xander!
Bora.
It was frustrating, but all in all, the weather gods were reasonable with us, and we got it made, and we came in on schedule and on budget. And I would take the hand I was dealt on that movie every time.
Now, we want to come to our right a little more. It's over this way.
In 1990, while trying to push Dragon the Bruce Lee story into production, I took a brief vacation in a magical place called Bora Bora. I never forgot its incredible lushness, the beauty of its aquamarine water, and the loveliness of its climate. For the last scene of the film, I only had one camera, and I put it at the bottom of the South Pacific Ocean, pointing at the glaring sky. And that would be the final, what I thought beautiful shot of the film.
Ready and dive. Here I am in the island of Kona, Hawaii. We just finished our shoot in Bora Bora. Principal photography is officially wrapped. The editing room, visual effects, music, sound effects design, and dub all lie ahead.
I did over 2,000 shots on this film. I got into the editing room Christmas Eve day. The fact is that we basically had 5 weeks to cut the film, to show it to the studio. To pull that off, I needed only the world's best editor, and that's Chris Lebenzon. The guy is an action maestro, knows how to take film, and no matter what I dreamt of when I was shooting it, he would take that dream and amp it to another level. He'd make the material work harder. He would use more of it in more imaginative ways. I saw the first cut that he and Paul Rubel did. I just hugged and kissed them both because it was like, okay, we're going to be okay. To put this film in a fine cut in 5 weeks, only masters can do that. Even though pre-production and the set are very exciting, the real movie making happens in post-production. After the shoot is completed, there are so many other elements that come to play which lift the film to the level you, the viewer, gets to see. Have you tried the PFX? Sound effects can make or break a sequence, especially in an action scene or an action film. So with my collaborators, Bruce Stambler, Mike Casper, and Dan Leahy, we attacked the soundtrack with the same zeal that Dean and I attacked each day on the set. Here's an example of how a scene plays without sound effects: the avalanche. And with 20-hour days and 10,000 sound effect tracks running, here's how a scene takes on a whole new life. After editing the cut and rhythm of the film, nothing is more important in the post-production process than the music. The composer for this film was Randy Edelman. Randy and I have done so many movies together.
Let's just hear it first with the horns.
I needed themes. I wanted the score to carry and expand the scope of the picture.
Let's kick some ass. Let's put some music for explosions to happen by.
Randy and I spent countless hours poring over the picture.
That wonderful horn fanfare-like thing.
Yeah.
That's what you hear.
Yeah, but not on the cut. We want to put some weight into it as it develops because it's the introduction of our hero.
I didn't want it just to be, the kind of music that is very popular in movies. I want the music of the 2000s.
Hey, maestro. Very good, very good.
Randy really delivered for me and for the movie. He created heroic themes for XXX.
And then escalate.
Everybody else is holding the A.
Joe Roth, music supervisor Kathy Nelson, and I all wanted a XXX theme song, and I wanted to put it over my Cyber Psycho credits at the end of the film. So Kathy reached out for Glenn Ballard, and Glenn Ballard reached out for Gavin Rossdale of Bush.
That last take was excellent. I mean, we're keeping everything.
The first step of the process to me was to be with Rob Cohen and to find out what his vision of the movie was, and I saw a lot of what he had already shot, and it had such a visceral impact. It was so energetic and yet focused.
And it can be a little more orchestral right there. I mean, at a certain
what
point,
I was saying.
we could morph it into something that's
if you could
really
ramp
kind
it
of
up.
hauntingly.
Yeah. Came and gave me a hug. He said, I know exactly what to do. And he wrote a song about the interior state of Xander's mind, of Vin Diesel's character's mind, and he made it an ode to adrenaline.
I know, that's too long. I mean, maybe it's just, how long is that section before the vocal comes in?
It's like
4 bars?
It's 4 bars, and then we got 4 bars with the vocal, and then it goes, lay down and die.
I saw the trailer of the film, heard about the movie, and so just worked on the song with Glenn, just jump right in.
Well, he was doing a little beat, and then he's going 4 on the floors and the vocals.
So maybe he just ramps up to it a little bit.
The record has turned out to be a very exciting part. And it got me to get off and direct a musical thing, which I have never done.
Play a little more this side. In other words, you've been playing this way. Play a little more looking that way.
What's really good about him and refreshing is it's all about music, He wants the music up in the film. Rob's all about, what dialogue? Turn the fucking music up.
I wanted a challenge. That's what I've always looked for, whether movies have been successful or unsuccessful. My heart, soul, and imagination is going to be stretched into some new place. It's fun for me every day. I don't care if I'm on a stage. I don't care if I'm in a location. I don't care if I'm on a set on a location. I just love making movies. I love it.
The Ahab and the GTO were the two sort of key vehicles. The Ahab was the 30-foot long submersible that Yorgi's scientists had created to travel the world with Yorgi's lethal weapons in, which was something that we wanted to look as though it was semi-believable, but have a slightly sort of fantastic look to it.
Gavin designed the Ahab with the concept illustrator, did a fantastic job using the computer programs 3D, and was using Lightwave, he was using Photoshop. Lightwave was a very useful tool because it's fairly scalable. And he built the whole Ahab as an illustration in 3D, which then he could texture map and he could show as a 3D object, rotate, show different views, shadow, but it's very easy to show what it would look like from every angle and what it would look like in action. So the illustrations were really used to build the Ahab.
We had good reference points from some real submersibles, scientific submersibles, and then we added the slightly streamlined sort of supersonic look to this thing, so you could believe that it could move pretty fast above the water on hydrofoils and then submerge when it needed to submerge and be run by radio and remote control via sort of solar panels as well.
The drawings were actually able to be used directly to mill pieces in the effects shop for the construction of Ahab. Using an axial sort of miller, they were able to actually cut out huge pieces that then molds could be made from. The sculptors used to make molds. The sculptors used some full-size lines that were taken from the computer to actually use full-size to make screes for plaster. But to do all the things Ahab had to do, like have parts that came out, like the rockets that extend, the missiles that raise, the doors that open, it also had to have hydraulics. It had to have heavy aluminum tubing and fiberglass skins and cast pieces that were all going to work together to give the impression that this thing was just a seamless ship operating at high speed that was, carrying liquid death to Prague. So Rob was very clear about what he wanted, and it placed a lot of demands on the actual building of this thing. It had to do a lot of things, and yet it had to actually fly. It had to really move. He said, I want this thing to be fast, fast, fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1967 General Motors GTO. 325 horsepower, 389 cubic inches of raw man-meat power. Step on inside and check out the gadgets that I'm unleashed with in this film. We've got everything and anything you need. I mean, you got a speedometer, okay, boring, done. Every car has that. My Prism has a speedometer. You got your gauge, you got your rocket launchers, you got your parachute, you got your oil slick, you got your GPS, you got your sonar, you got your depth finder, you got your popcorn maker, you got your hot pockets, you got your frappuccino machine, all of that, but you don't have a horn.
GTO was something slightly different, and Rob was obviously very interested in what the car should be, and in the end decision was a GTO. And then there was questions of how many gadgets and how many things would it have on it.
Harold Belker is a concept artist who's worked on a lot of movies recently in Hollywood, but he comes out of car design. He worked on some of the initial drawings of the GTO, and you can't change a GTO too much because it's got to still be a GTO. But he has a beautiful eye, and he does beautiful artwork, and it really helped sell the idea of the GTO, not just design it, but also show Rob and show the studio what it could be to make it the car for the movie.
There are two different ways of designing or handling a movie vehicle. One is much more budget intense, you need a few $100,000 to build a car from nothing. And then with XXX and the GTO, it was all the gadgets, but still make it look cool. The original color was a faded green. When the car sits too long under the sun, how it all kind of rusty and, it was ugly.
We looked through some colors that really are changeable in light, and there was a beautiful one that really altered between purple and blue, depending on what light you look at it in. And that's kind of exciting, so you don't really have to choose. You can get the best of both worlds.
Pretty much when it came to the interior, we started with a dashboard, and there wasn't going to be a car that had a special spy dashboard. It was sort of made to fit overnight. Here it was more, let's add on stuff. And we went through the stages where I did 3 different levels of add-on dials, and then you do some hypothetical spy stuff in there, a radar screen. And Gavin, I remember Gavin said, no, more, we need more.
The dashboard has just become this mad sort of Heath Robinson array of instruments and controls and buttons, and it's a very unsophisticated thing but fits into our world of sort of low-end technology but sort of high-end results. And it looks a much more uncoordinated beast, but it has a personality all of its own.
In an ideal world, I would call a car a character in the movie. But that's, that's biased because, that's what I work on. So I like to see as much of a vehicle in the movie as possible. So when I watch a movie, I get critical about that sort of aspect, but that's still just a vehicle.
Harold was good about kind of kicking it into another level and still maintaining the spirit of the GTO.
It was an interesting script, an interesting premise of trying to put the sort of X-generation spirits into the sort of secret agent espionage world.
It was a very interesting take on an existing genre, giving it quite an edge.
A script with a lot of action, a lot of gadgets, a lot of things happening, very demanding.
Once this starts going, it just gets faster and faster. It never lets up.
The look and style of the film was based on the premise of the script about trying to work in the world of extreme sports and X-generation and sort of very sort of hip, high-tech design in both sort of costume and gadgets and the sets into this world of what you understand as a secret agent world, which is usually a little bit stuffier.
It's an action movie. It's got to have an edge. It's got to be something modern and something that's going to have devices that are exciting, that are maybe not completely realistic, but are something that are maybe a little beyond realistic.
There's a lot of discussions about whether we would be contemporary or sort of just out of contemporary or futuristic. I think the conclusion was that we didn't really want to be science fiction. Everything really had to look as though it could be believable now.
Rob trusted Gavin quite a bit, and he wanted Gavin to give him a look that was, going to push things a little bit, be a bit new, over the top, but at the same time beautiful.
When you get a guy like Gavin to create the environment, when he knocks it out of the park like he did, you've got to thank him, because all you have to do is be at that point and work off the environment that he's created.
OPSEC 3, yellow. OPSEC 4, orange. OPSEC 5, red.
In the style of the movie, we had a lot of contrast to work with. We knew we were working in LA, we were working on the sort of the street side life of LA. We were going to Prague, we were going to be using locations in Prague that were a mixture of very sort of elegant and romantic and very sort of run down and grimy, big palaces, small bars, sort of subterranean environments. So we had great contrast going on all over the place, and I think the one advantage we had, or the one thing we were trying to do with the NSA, was push it into a world of very modern high-tech design to contrast with all the environments we were going to see or build in Prague.
The NSA, however, which was a set we built in Prague, was a very high-end, high-tech, technical set with a lot of very specific finishes. And Gavin and Rob had no mercy there. They wanted it to look just as good as it could. It had almost 120 monitors in it and very high-end metal, steel finishes.
It sounds great, but it's like, yeah, we're going to have 1 million monitors and we're going to be underground. But it was exciting because it's a contrast, I think, to the Prague world. And I think that was, that was important in the set, to give it this scale and the scope that it's, this place has its pulse on every event in the world. It's the kind of place that can track a single person or track a whole army.
So it was quite hard work, but a great contrast for the look of the movie.
Georgi and his crew are new. They're young and they're new and they're powerful, and their style is the style of urban rebellion. The tattoos and the clothes and the clubs and the girls and the whole thing.
Yorgi's castle as a concept started out in slightly different form in the script. It was originally a castle split in two sections. It was a castle or palace that he lived in the centre of Prague, and it was a fortress that he had on the outside boundaries of Prague, sort of more in the countryside, in the mountains. Gradually, it just became sensible to put these two locations together. And there was a castle, a palace called Ranov that I'd seen previously on trips to Prague or to the Czech Republic on other shows that had never been shot in before. It gave us the palace, the sort of the big grand scale for Yorgi, something he lives in this sort of mad opulence as an anarchist would. And underneath there was a belief that the Ahab launch room could be built in the cliff face underneath with the opening doors to the river.
The exterior of the castle was a fantastic location down in Moravia, and we added to it with various quite large pieces of scenery just to seal the courtyard off to make it into the area that Rob wanted the action to unfold in. It had to seem like an impregnable fort, and in fact it was a three-sided castle that looked out over a cliff, so we had to seal that fourth side off. So that was a fairly big element from a construction point of view.
Ahab was the sort of 30-foot long sort of submersible, and the idea was that this was being built in a subterranean environment underneath his palace. So we obviously weren't going to find that as a location, so we knew we were going to have to build this. The difficulty of working with water in this instance was obviously building the set in what was going to be a water environment, and there was no stage available in Prague that actually had a tank, as we would call it, like a waterproof tank below the stage floor. Luckily, the studio complex, which was an old industrial works that we were using, one of the stages there did have a sunken floor. So we started with a shell that was mainly a sort of period interior underground of sort of brick columns and brickwork, but then applied a lot of modern technology into it, as though Yorgi had turned it into a modern high-tech workshop.
The Ahab set was our largest set, and it was our most complicated effort, both as an art department as a construction department as well. The end section, the launch room, had a very large tank in it that was over 6 feet deep. And we had to build a metal tank within the existing tank, within the stage, because it was just basically a huge depression in the floor that wasn't watertight. So we had to build a metal tank within that. And there was huge collaboration with the special effects department, because the set was animated in various ways. There were huge doors that shut. There was an extraction system for taking gas out of the air when one of the rockets goes off inside the workshop. But it was probably the hardest in that it combined the basic set construction finishes of stone and brick with the high-tech metal, glass and all the rest of it. And in fact, by the time the water was in the tank, it became very, very difficult to just get about the set. To get to certain areas of the set, you had to get in a boat and literally row over to it. But it was a great end result.
This is movie making to the highest degree.
The drug farm was one of the first sets that we could actually get our teeth into. It was scheduled early, it was in LA, we knew what we had to do. We had all the reference from the sort of Colombian, South American drug farms, which was obviously quite hard to get, but we had enough to work with. So we initially made up some little concept models to show to Rob little different ideas of how these buildings could be constructed, how big they were, what sort of designs were there, what would happen in each one in the real world of sort of drug farm. So we had the basis of a real drug farm layout, and then we built a big scale model, or a small scale model, but a big size 10-foot by 6-foot board that had the whole of the drug farm on it, which became our sort of talking point, really. It was almost like a Second World War operations room with all the commanders around looking at the model, explaining where the motorbike would fly, the helicopters would fly, and all those things would go on.
The drug farm was really designed for the stunts. I went with the stuntman, and my art director working with me, Bruce Hill, went around the whole drug farm and started labeling places where we'd have to have jumps, where we'd have to have fences, where we'd have to have obstacles. So it could become a very exciting sequence for Vin and the motorcycles and for Rob to choreograph. Rob sat down with a model, he looked at it all, and he said, you know, this building's first to blow, the helicopter comes around here. He just started playing with it, and in about an hour he had sort of mapped it all out in his head.
Oh my God.
She's checking you out, man.
I gotta hang on to these.
The script had a number of demands for weapons and gadgets for the sort of NSA and the Xander character, and also Yorgie's world as well. So there were a number of real weapons, from great big sort of rocket launchers down to sort of handguns that were real, practical film weapons. And then there was a series of gadgets and weapons and guns that we designed and made ourselves as props that obviously didn't function. And generally they were on the border of being real in terms of their design and what they could do. When these things appeared, they inherently looked naturally part of that world, even though if you took them away from that and looked at them, you probably might think a couple of them were a little bit on the more futuristic side.
We're taking things that people can recognise, I think, and taking them a step further into a new realm.
You didn't want to make it too high-tech. You didn't want them to be delicate. You're working with an actor who's a big man. You know, one of the big questions was the communicator. You don't want it to look like a toy. The weapons, you don't want them to look like toys. Everything has to be a little bit beefy. It was kind of a retro-futuristic look.
We started talking about the tone of the gadgets, because gadgets are very difficult to work out, and they take a long lead time to be built. The idea was I wanted to stay in the real world. I wanted to say, okay, it's the NSA, and they're capable of doing many things that are quite spectacular, but it's not the future. There's no laser guns, there's no this, there's no that. I want to do stuff that you could possibly believe happens, but it's got to be fun. Because in some senses, this is a boy's own adventure, you know, and the boy's toys are part of what makes it, you know, the fantasy element of these movies work. So, you know, there is no secret agent movie without great secret agent weapons.
The gadgets were really, really, really cool. Cool gadgets.
Locations and the split of the production, in a funny sort of way, was one of the things that interested me in the first place. And I think the biggest problem we had in this instance was that we were definitely in two very specific places that were a long way away, LA and Prague. And in the short time we had to prep the movie and to shoot it, that time difference in travel was a huge thing. And so I suppose my biggest challenge in it was just trying to keep my head around two very different art departments that were operating in two different continents.
One of the challenges is probably the crew, to get your art department that is going to deliver for you. The Czech Republic's well off in that quite a lot of films have been made there now in the last 10 years, so the crew that you can find there are quite experienced. But on top of that, we did bring crew from the UK, and it was meshing them together so that they could work more homogeneously was very, very important.
If you're going to shoot a place up, like a beautiful old historical building, you can't just drill holes in all the walls. You have to provide things which can break and be damaged, and build walls over walls, or build new walls which can be damaged. It's hard in an action movie. It's something that, if you're going to be destroying a lot of square footage in the place you're going into, you have to really work around a place.
One of the challenges of the movie was the speed that we had to actually get things up and running. I think it was always intended that the film came out in the following summer, from us starting in September, which basically was 10 months from start to finish, which is quite intense for...
Especially a movie that's got a lot of effects and a lot of locations and a lot of design. It had vehicles, it had communication devices, weapons, a lot of things that had to be fabricated. And it was going to be hard to make a lot of the deadlines, we were afraid, but you know, that's one of the things that makes it interesting.
Generally it was like, so have an idea and run with it if it was a good idea, rather than mull it over for weeks and weeks. So quite an interesting creative process.
You can tell me whether or not it deserves a sequel. I think working on it, that we were all excited about it.
Well, I think despite the madness and intensity of the whole shoot and the whole preparation process, I hope we can all do it again one day.
The one thing I think that is important to XXX is that I had great fun on it. And roll on XXX 2.
Vinny is a unique person, unique actor.
XXX is going to make him an action star. He's definitely going to be the man.
Vin is really surprising. He has really surprised me in this movie.
Our relationship is such that we've wanted to work together for a while.
He's the next big thing, man. He is the big thing.
Giving birth to a new secret agent, a new breed of secret agent was interesting and challenging.
Vinny has the most unique cluster of characteristics of any young actor working out there today. He's vulnerable, he's sensitive, he's intelligent.
What Rob and I arrived at was that we would not do the movie unless Vin did the movie because we just did not know who else could embody that role of Xander Cage.
Show you what we do with funny guys who get in our business.
What, hog ties and force us to listen to your bad accent?
For this role, it was all about an attitude. The character had to have an attitude, and an attitude like that we were trying to portray in this film is not something that I don't think you can act. And Vin had that, and it just embodied who that character was.
I look forward to being incredibly involved in that process, especially on a character like Xander Cage.
The original concept, I was thinking, how do you fuse James Bond with Fred Durst? And there's only one guy that fits that bill, who's tough, who's got attitude, who can act his ass off, and that's Vin Diesel.
Something very fascinating about playing Xander Cage was that I'd have to do 3 months of preparation and training. I'm a thrill seeker myself to some degree, and I just completely enjoyed that process. I've never been on a motocross bike before in my life, and on the first day I'm doing jumps. I trained with the best motocross experts, and I trained with Navy SEALs, and, all the aspects of Xander's proficiency had to be worked out in pre-production.
And it's important that when he uses a weapon, he operates like someone who's been trained and who has respect for the weapons and respect for the technique. Vin mastered it, and he was really good with the drill where we had him approaching a target with the M16.
At that point when you go red,
It's just getting that.
you stop, crouch down, and do the magazine reload. Okay?
To have the opportunity to go off and do those things, and to have the opportunity to do them under the supervision of the best is a great opportunity, obviously.
I think that the challenge of the film was how to get Vinny to do everything and be in the center of everything. But you can never be clever enough as a superhero.
True.
Vin is a super awesome athlete. He really is. He talks the talk, and he also can walk it.
It was very nerve-wracking to watch the guy who's in every scene, carrying every scene, and who's also a close personal friend. To say, okay, now you get here, you ride down here, the guys with the M16s will be shooting from above. The helicopters will be right behind you. There'll be dirt and crap flying everywhere. You cannot lose your concentration.
He was in the heat of it all. I mean, even from the simplest stuff where he's running from building to building, the stuff that was going on around him was just chaotic.
I feel compelled to do it to try to bring as much authenticity as possible.
Then gas it. So I'll cue you earlier so that the helicopter doesn't catch up to you as fast. Okay? To give you that little moment of action.
I wouldn't have felt comfortable doing even minor jumps and wheelies had I not done some training in pre-production.
Vin trained so hard in motorcycles and the jumps and all kinds of stuff. His dedication was extraordinary.
When you actually start shooting, you're able to do things that you've never were able to do before.
There were times where, boy, I mean, if you were just an innocent bystander coming up and watching it, you'd be going, are you crazy? What are you doing putting him right there? You know?
And then there it is. He does it. One take, 12 cameras, no waiting.
And action!
He was up for more than I wanted him to do. I mean, he would come, I can do that. He always reminded me of that. Send me in, coach. Send me in, coach. You know, he wanted to do everything.
Surreal moment when you realize you are on the face of a mountain doing a scene. And you kind of close your eyes for a second and realize, how did I get to this place? Very few people out here would do this. Thank God I did the 2 weeks of rock climbing training, because if I didn't, I'd be crying. Boo-hoo.
Vin is so good at doing the stunts. He's so professional. It was like sweeter than a caress, that tray. Vin was fantastic.
Lance? Yeah. Is Vin going to be able to handle this?
Sure. We hooked Vin up to a high-speed winch that we had. Basically just, lack of a better word, drug him along the ground and had him be rolling and tossing in the dirt.
The depths and breadth of Vin's abilities have just begun to be seen.
It represents the style of our culture. It's a different world, and the face of our heroes will change.